This episode is brought to you in partnership with Ascentum, which is an award-winning coaching practice that helps high-performing professionals advance and achieve the promotions and pay they deserve. Ascend to powerful heights with Ascentum. What's going on, everybody? My name is Kenny Groom. I am your host of the Beyond Normal podcast. I'm excited to be here with you today. We have an incredible founder here in my home market of Charlotte. I'm glad to highlight some of the amazing founders that are just in my backyard. But without further ado, my guest today is Christopher Stokes. He is the co-founder of Secure Living. And in a nutshell, I'll let Chris break down what the company does, but just a quick little excerpt on what the company does right now. They help real estate companies raise capital by enabling them to sell shares of their projects to the general public. We know that real estate is a hot topic for a lot of folks right now, plenty of investment opportunities. And so I'm glad to have someone like Chris. And he'll share in a little bit how his team is growing and how they're helping to, enable some of those investments for folks looking to get in the real estate space. But without further ado, let me bring Chris to the stage right now. How's it going, Chris?
Good, man. Good. Can't complain. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you taking time out of your day. There's plenty of things you could be doing, like running your business. But, I think it's really important for founders, no matter where they are in their journey, to, shed a little bit of light, give folks a peek behind the curtain into what they're doing. So without further ado, I want to get into the conversation with you. Tell folks, we like to lead our conversations off by telling folks a little bit about your story prior to you founding Secure Living. So give us an idea of what Chris was doing before you decided to go on this entrepreneur journey that you're on right now.
Yeah. So on paper, I got a background in finance and economics. So that led me to work at Bank of America, where I led the regulatory and compliance department. And that right there in a nutshell just helped me transition to starting Secure Living. Now, Secure Living, it's a regulated funding portal with the SEC and FINRA. So similar to how other brokerage accounts and financial institutions are regulated, we're regulated by the same bodies. So my background helped me avoid a lot of the legal costs to help start Secure Living. And it's real estate based. I took on real estate. It's 2019, bought my first property. From there, I just saw the benefits, right? And one of the reasons my wife and I actually started the company was to really give back to the community, right? We had our family and friends that wanted to invest with us, and we took them along for 2 years, and we did pretty well. We had an average annualized rate of return of just shy of 20%. And we were like, how can we scale this? How can we bring more people involved? And when we think about reaching other people outside of your network, that's when things get, tricky in terms of the rules and regulations. So we founded the company to, deal with some of the rules and regulations that we were facing to expand real estate across the U.S.
I appreciate that breakdown there. You went through a lot. I want to go back to, like you said, when you first started your career, you got your degree, and then you ended up working for one of the biggest banks in the world, right? That we all know as a household name. But before even getting into corporate America, like tell us a little bit about your backstory there. I'm just trying to gain a little bit of an idea about did you have some of those thoughts about starting your business prior to us being full-fledged adults in this world, right? Tell us a little bit about life before even getting that degree. Like, what was it? Tell us a little bit about Chris.
Yeah, so I grew up single household, 2 younger siblings, and I spent a lot of time with my late uncle and my grandmother. And looking at it, then I thought, they just wanted free labor, right? So they were actually real estate investors. So back then, they would buy off auction. So the houses would run down, and they would have us. So my grandmother had 7 grandsons, right? Have all of us over there painting and cleaning and all those things. And back then I was like, oh, this is something to get us, keep us out of trouble, free labor. But look at it now, that really exposed me to real estate and to just say a 20, 30 years ago in the South, like in Virginia was like amazing. And from there, I'm like, real estate, it's very attractive to me. And when I, went to school, I learned more about it and how lucrative and how, millionaires and billionaires built their wealth with real estate. So that just sparked my interest.
Got it. Like that's these types of pieces of someone's story, such as yours, Chris. They all often go overlooked by people, right? And it's like, all right, why does somebody end up going down the career path or just the life journey that we all go down as parent, or excuse me, as adults, as parents, right? And you sharing that little piece there, like you said, like this is probably something that was in you at an early age. They sparked some of that interest, and now here you are. You've been a part of different real estate ventures even from an early age,
Yeah.
right? And so those are the things I think people say, specifically in the Black community, like we don't necessarily have people in our lives that maybe owned a house or were business owners, but that's not necessarily always the case. There's always been incredible Black business owners, incredible Black founders, people willing to take a chance on themselves. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit about your story and how that's gotten you to the point where you are now. You mentioned earlier on as well, I don't know if folks caught it, but your co-founder is your significant other, which is I don't think there's enough people that have shared what that experience is like. So can you tell us what it is like going into business with your wife?
Yeah, I know it's very interesting, right? So she's my boss at home and my boss at work. I like to joke around and say, but at the start when we first started working on Secure Living back in 2021, late 2021, it was challenging for us, right? So we had different financial backgrounds, different degrees, right? So mine was finance and economics, background in regulatory compliance, finance services and banking. Her background was business administration, and then focused on marketing. And she was in manufacturing, right? So two separate backgrounds. So we really didn't know each other's style when it comes, to working. And I think what helped us early on is really delegating and taking ownership of certain tasks, right? So I typically handle some of the client facing, building relationship with potential real estate investors that are looking for capital. She, and in the operations and the regulatory side of the business, and she focuses a lot on the marketing, things with the website, SEO, and building relationships with potential investors that's looking to, put their capital to work on different investment opportunities on our platform. So once we did that delegation, now things are, smoother. We don't butt heads. We don't step on each other's toes and who's working on what and who's reaching out to who. But once we, also understood how each other worked together, it's all working as planned.
I like that, man. I like to hear that. I think that that's something like going into business with family, or in this case, like your significant other. That's something that people may just steer away from because there's going to be some conflict, and then like how do you resolve it? But I think the great thing about seeing couples go down that path of being founders together is like you just said, like you both kind of you both have the ability to figure out where the other one is good and let that other one let them thrive. I think that's probably at the core of being in a committed relationship with somebody. And so I could definitely see how you can transition from just being a married successful family, nucleus family, to owning some businesses together in the future. That I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. But I think people gotta do exactly what you all did, which was get in there, figure it out, have those uncomfortable conversations, and then adjust accordingly, which we all do, or we hope that people do in their personal lives with the people that they love.
And another thing that just really helped is we're like-minded, right? So we were, we have the same goals, same aspirations when it comes in terms of the business and what we want to see and what we want to accomplish with our business.
So, you in the beginning, I asked you to shed a little bit of light on um, on prior to your experiences as a young person, like with real estate. So I'm curious, like how do you all, like for kids and things like that, do you see them being a part of this just naturally, or do you think that you'll like let them find their own kind of passions? Like how do you start thinking about some of those things you're doing now?
I mean, that's a great question. So we have a daughter that's one and a half, so she hasn't really experienced real estate to the extent that I did when I was younger. But our nephew, who's about 8, right? So we do a lot of different strategies in real estate. So a lot goes to forced appreciation, where we renovate distressed properties, or also fix and flips. So we have him come in, and he has the tape, right? So we ask him to point out all the flaws and all the mistakes that he see in the house. Rule number one, that was a mistake, because he put tape everywhere on little nicks, or paint on the floor or whatever. But that alone, showed that he really was thorough and he enjoyed it. And we take our family and some of our friends to all the properties that we invest in, just to see our vision. And then we also, once it's listed or before it gets rented, we take them through, and they are amazed at the transformation. So I think just having that exposure may spark some interest. And of course, we want our children and our grandchildren to do, what they're led to do, right? But if we can have some small influence in an investment vehicle that's known to build wealth, we would definitely continue to push them towards that, especially when it comes to passive. Right now, my wife and I are active, but when it moves to passive investing.
Got it. That makes sense. Having your nephew go through some of those experiences early on in life, the hope is that, when they get to a point where they have their own properties, like they can not have some of those, bump on the head moments that you have being, an early active real estate investor. So, like, can you share like some of the growing lessons that you have learned being in real estate? Like, I can think back to my experience. I'll share just real quickly. Us buying our first property, noticing that things weren't necessarily in the shape that we thought they were when we first moved in. And so instantly from day one, you're having to fix shit pretty much. And then you don't expect that. So like, can you walk through some of like those experiences that you had that you're leveraging now, that you're looking to sink your teeth a little bit further into real estate?
Yeah, and when it comes to, I'm going to do 2 separate experiences. When it comes to our personal portfolio, we found out that we are not your traditional house flippers. House flipping in general is not for us, and it's just too much. It requires too much, work, too much time up front, and too much managing, contracting. We've seen the most success off our buy and hold portfolio, and it's seen the most growth, right? And we know over time, historically, real estate has been seen to grow 3 to 5% annually. And even on down markets that we see now, it's an opportunity to buy at a little bit attractive price. So I think just finding, what you can and what you cannot do, I find myself, sometimes trying to do too much because I'm good at, learning things. When you have YouTube these days, you can really know how to do a lot of things with the house, but you have to really figure out where's your time more valuable. So the key lesson that we've learned is, one, flipping houses after a third one isn't a strategy that we, my wife and I, will stick with. We prefer, buying holds, and we've seen the most success out of that, and the most, stable cash flow and potential growth in our net worth. And then for secure living, our funding portal platform, I think what we learned from was it, it's this might be sound a little negative, but we really know who your close family and friends are when it comes to getting their actual support. As we built the business plan and as we shared ideas with them, we get good feedback. And then when it comes to, okay, we're launching, we need some additional support, whether it's, sharing our content that we pushed, just, sharing with their network what we're doing, just sharing some of our investment opportunities that's listed on the platform. That was literally non-existent, right? So we went to, a couple of family and friends. It's like, hey, I'm ready to invest, got the money. And then when the time comes when we have launched several deals, nothing. So that was just an eye opener for us. We thought we had a greater backing or more supportive backing until the time came, and it just fell off. So
You're dropping gems, Chris. I appreciate it. The friends and family, kind of, even from like an investment perspective, or even just a support perspective. In our community, in Black communities in particular, it definitely is a hot topic, right? Because you may have that initial idea. Some of the people within your circle may push you to go and explore it, but when it's time to pay up, right? That's where you need the rubber to meet the road, and a lot of times you won't necessarily, get 10 out of 10 people who told you to go for it to actually support with some dollars. And you may have to actually look outside of your core network and just expand out. In my experience, is what I found, and that's okay. I think, in particular, I think that's why it's so interesting that for you and your wife to be co-founding a business, because a lot of times people they go away from family businesses, like they don't even like look at it, right? And so I think what you're doing with secure living, which I want to hop into right after this, I think you're really going to be trying to prove some people wrong, and specifically in the Black community around building together, with your nucleus family and the folks that you speak to every day. Like there's ways to do it without you all hating each other's guts at the end of the day, if I can be frank. And so I want to dig into secure living now. Tell us a little bit around. Honestly, I gave like a high level view of it, but I want you to dig into it. I know you're familiar with the regulations around the space in terms of investing, so I want folks to get a good idea of how they can leverage and tap into secure living as a potential investment opportunity.
Yeah, I'll start by highlighting one of the reasons why we started secure living. So we wanted to make investing actually attainable for the average person, right? So what we do is being done today, but only the wealthy have access to it. And what they coined the term non-accredited investor. So we wanted to open that up to the average person, right? So anyone that does not have a net worth of $1 million or does not make $200,000 a year. So we work with real estate developers or investors, right? That's looking to diversify their capital stack. So whether it's traditional financing, hard money lending, or want to raise equity, our platform allows them to raise equity from people, anyone in the U.S. that's 18 or older that can have $500 to invest, right? So we have a lower minimum investment threshold than our competitors. And we know that 94% of the US fits into this non-accredited investor category. So opening up the doors to real estate investing. And that was our primary, one of our primary objectives. And long term, we want to be, the Amazon of real estate, where individuals can come on our platform and see deals spanning all across the US, and they can pick and choose and build their own passive portfolio without the headaches, of late night calls to fix toilets, or scheduling calls with contractors, and without that headache, they can sit back and potentially watch their money grow.
I like that. As you were explaining it, I was thinking along the lines of, in real estate, I compare it to like some of the biggest tech brands we think of in the world. The thing that just came out, right, is the Apple Vision Pros that cost a couple $1,000s, and for somebody looking at that, right, saying, "Hey, I can't, everybody can't afford, right, to pay for these goggles, and if there's no real use case for you having it besides it just trying to look a certain way." That doesn't necessarily mean you can't invest in Apple stock or something like that. Like, you can't invest in some of these entities and reap some of those benefits. And I really like the point that you mentioned around for those who aren't necessarily ready to embark on a real estate journey where they're owning a property and they've got to be super active, right? You've mentioned that word a couple of times. I think that's really important. I know some people that most recently they purchased their first home, and they found out like owning a home is not for them. They don't want to put up with the maintenance. They don't want to do a lot of those things that come along with it. They don't want to pay insurance. They don't want to pay for taxes. They just want they want to rent, right? And so they actually flipped around within like a year or two and sold their house. That's okay, right? But they went through that process of knowing, and real estate is just something. It's a valuable thing to get into, but finding out how you can get into it early on, which I think a platform like Secure Living does, I think that's a really good learning opportunity for folks. Like you mentioned, the lower threshold. I'll ask you to reiterate that as well, just so folks know a little bit more about how they, the minimums and what they need to do to tap into the platform. But I really think that's, that's spot on, that explanation you gave. And as you were talking through it, I was thinking about like, you may not be ready to own a home right now, but you can still invest and reap some of the benefits of the real estate market, which is crazy ridiculous. It's a crazy way that people in a significant portion of Americans are accumulating wealth, right? Not necessarily an active resource that you tap into every single day for funds, but it's something that for the most part is going to grow consistently over time, like you said, at 3 to 5%. Those are good numbers. So can you tell folks a little bit, just maybe go back to the specifics around what they need to do, the minimums, and the ways that they can register and get going with the platform?
Yeah. Very first thing, visit our website. So securelivingrei.com, securelivingrei.com, and register for a free account. Shoot that same email to your mom, your brother, your sister, your family, everybody, right? So we want to build a community of potential real estate investors at a low threshold. So currently our minimum is 500. Now, the more potential investors we have on the platform, that can be, that can drop. It can be 250, it can be $100, right? So whatever we need to do to actually fund these real estate deals. And I think you mentioned a good point about educating yourself. So the deals that we have on the platform, it's everything about the deal. The financial structure, the use of funds. They have tons of documentation. So as you continue to invest on our platform, you will learn different strategies, different ways, different experienced real estate developers or companies are structuring their deals by reading some of the material. And through our platform, you can also basically communicate with them. You can comment on their page and have specific questions. So it's also, you're investing, You're reaping some potential benefits of that investment that you made. And you're also learning from the sponsor who's actually raising capital. So I think it's a good opportunity just to expand and deepen their knowledge on real estate.
I love it. So you touched on something there in terms of actually engaging with the individuals who are putting the potential investment property up there. So that makes this a two-sided marketplace, right? You are actively looking for real estate investors people that have properties that they want people to invest in. Can you speak a little bit into like how do those folks engage with the brand as well? Like, is it a similar process? Like, tell me a little bit about the folks who want to maybe potentially put a property on a secure living REI.com. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So today we probably accept between 7 to 10% sponsors on our platform because we go through a very in-depth check and review of the actual deals, right? So we're dealing with people's capital, right? So we want to ensure that we mitigate as much risk as possible, knowing that all investments have risk, right? So we go through background checks, which checks for criminal background, financial fraud, anti-money laundering, and we go through deal review. So we have people that sit on our board who worked at some of these large organizations that focus on analyzing real estate deals. So we have deal review to help mitigate risks. It covers market analysis. We look at the competency of the actual sponsors and their team. Or is this if this strategy that they're trying to deploy, is it normal for them or something new, right? So we look at a lot of different things. And we bring them to us, and they actually pitch the opportunity as well with us and our board, so we can have those tough questions and feedback. Like a prime example, we were reviewing some proposals, and we as well as the investors know that property management can be anywhere from 8 to 12%. Well, in their projections, they were quoting 2 to 5%, which we were like, hey, this is extremely low. We're well below, a national averages. So we have those conversations, check out their numbers. We look at the economic growth that they're predicting. We just make sure we validate everything they put on the pitch deck or on the material that they share with us, checks out.
Got it. And so there's definitely a thorough background check, like you said. I think that's really important for the folks who are potentially looking at pulling their money in and investing in the platform, to know that just given your background and your co-founder's background, y'all do this, right? And you do this, and you did this for your career, and now you're trying to make sure that you apply some of those rigorous, thorough, just the thoroughness, the audits, the dotting your I's and crossing your T's that you do for the bank. It definitely should cross over into this space as we get more folks that are open to, just investing in stuff that they haven't invested into in the past, or even a lot of folks now, I think for a platform like this, they're probably going to be new to investing in some capacities, right? And so you got to make sure, the stamp of approval is there from a regulatory standpoint.
Exactly.
What else? I don't know. One thing I was curious about was you being in my home market of Charlotte, of North Carolina, the Carolinas. Everybody knows that's where I'm at. I know that's a focus area now, but I guess like longer term, kind of the vision for the company. Are there any areas that you're looking into expanding to now, or is Carolina the go-to market for now?
So we actually just launched another investment opportunity outside of the Carolinas, actually in Florida. So we've been focusing on the Southeast, but I think people have been hearing about us, and we've been gaining more traction. So we have individuals from California, Michigan approach us when I list their projects. So we're still focusing on the Carolinas because that's where our network is, and we know we can help explain what we do to our network. But as of late, the last 2 months, when we launched our new platform, more potential sponsors have been reaching out to us needing capital. So we soon will have investment opportunities not just in one region, but hopefully across the U.S., which can help potential investors diversify their passive portfolio.
I love to hear it. There's plenty of growth opportunities for folks. We all see the new developments. We all see the repurposing, refurbishing of old establishments, even on the whether it's residential or commercial, in terms of the business spaces as well. I can't remember if you told me this before on that residential commercial element. Are there any distinctions between investing in residential projects versus commercial, and is there is commercial or business spaces, is that a possible way for folks to invest within secure living?
Yeah, so we're not biased. So we actually we've worked with commercial, residential, mixed use. Someone approached us from Michigan that wants to build a manufacturing plant and bring their manufacturing business from overseas to stateside. So we're not biased. So everything, real estate that makes sense, that we feel and deem have a low risk tolerance, we'll definitely advertise on our platform.
Got it. Yeah, man, I'm all for it. Our conversations off air, we talked a little bit about our real estate journeys. I'm glad to see somebody taking an initiative like this. There's definitely folks who are interested in a solution like this. Like you said, folks should definitely sign up for the platform. I'll put that link back up again, but then tell somebody about it. And it's just all about awareness right now, putting that opportunity in front of folks. An analogy that, I, from my time working in corporate America, when it comes to marketing and media and putting different opportunities in front of customers, you look at the retailers, all the businesses that solicit us every day, whether it's email or mail, direct mail, which is the traditional way. Like, it's not up to your mailman to look through the junk mail that you get, right? You're going to get pieces of junk mail that your mailman they don't understand why they're sending it to you, but you may get that same piece 10 times, but it's that 10th time that intrigues you to go online and buy something that you may or may not need, but that is your opportunity. So, I say that just to say, don't necessarily limit somebody seeing a platform like this. Make sure that folks have awareness that solutions like this are out there, so that they can give it a look themselves and make that decision on whether or not they want to invest in something like this. In closing, I just want to thank you, Chris, for shedding light on what you're building. It's amazing to see you and your co-founder, amazing couple, building this type of platform, leveraging your experience in real estate at a really young age, and putting that to work to build a business, and just leveraging all the things that you've done from a corporate perspective in this new space to build something for other folks to benefit from. I'll leave it to you to once again let folks know how they should interact with the brand, look at things to look out for, and then the last closing thoughts, I'll leave that to you as we look to close out this great conversation.
Yeah, thanks. I definitely thank Beyond Normal for having me here, but really us. So in terms of my wife and Secure Living, be able to represent the company, we're looking for potential investors, potential sponsors. We want to, build this community to help bring investment opportunities, to help bring capital to those that may not have access to it. In terms of last comment, so we have Interesting pipeline coming up, so really stay tuned. So by register with account, you'll be registered with our newsletter, and we have, send updates, educational material about wealth strategies and wealth building as well. So it's not just real estate focused, so it's really about generational wealth. So by registering an account, you get access, to all those opportunities. So stay tuned. We have some interesting markets that we're looking at: California, Michigan, and Atlanta. Coming up, some really big deals from some known investment companies. So, hopefully in the next month or two, we have those deals onboarded, and then we have more opportunities for you to invest and pick and choose.
Appreciate that, Chris. For those listening in, thanks for tuning in to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. Peace.